Hey everyone, just coming to you with this public service announcement. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. So let me explain. First and foremost, it's free to do so. You don't got to come out of your pocket. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of others platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's why I got on it. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, peace. Peace. We are back once again with Masterminds with Brother Shamel. I'm your host, Brother Shamel, and I'm back with another episode. Before I get into the topic, just want to let everyone know I appreciate the support that I've been getting and continue to get. Be sure to go on my website, shemel.com. That's SHEM-EL.com to check out my books. My book, Land of the Free, has been republished, so you can check that book out. Also, you can get my other books, my videos. I've been getting quite a few requests as of recently, pertaining to Who is Elohim. So I appreciate all the orders that I've received on that. Also, for those who have been asking me and inquiring, the MetaMind Mastery course is still on. We're looking to kind of get a couple of more people for the beta group, and once we got that locked in, we'll go ahead and get it popping. So thank you all for those who've been asking me, waiting patiently on the course. I have not forgotten you. So the MetaMind Mastery, if you are interested, go to my website, shemel.com, SHEM-EL.com. Send me a message. Let me know that you are interested in the course. We'll have a one-on-one 15-minute consultation, and we will just see where we at to see how we can how I can best assist you in terms of getting you on a course, because it's going to be catered to you to actually help develop you where you're at to get to a higher level and develop and elevate, transform, and things of that nature. So, with that said, I'm going to go to the topic today. It's a solemn occasion. I'm dedicating this episode to my dear friend, my dear brother, Khufu Shishunk, also known as Edward Johnson, who passed away recently this past Sunday from COVID-19. So as I speak, just bear with me, because it's a hard thing to actually talk about. I had actually kind of prepared, or I thought I prepared to speak on this, but as I speak on it now, definitely, dealing with emotions about it, because the brother, he was a longtime friend. So to just give context to it, the first part of this show, and the name of this show is entitled Spirit Man Cannot Die. So the first part of the show will actually be dealing, with personal memories, reflections of my friend, and also the later half I will be getting into the aspect of, transitioning death in the spirit realm and things of that nature. So with that, I want to start off, as I always should, with reading a section or a couple of sections from the Circle 7. And I will start off with chapter 1 first. And so I'll just go ahead and read from the part of chapter 1 where it speaks about the soul attributes. It says, "And these soul attributes became a body beautiful, a multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul. And here he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. Upon the boundary of the planes of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then essences took on a final guard. The perfumes and odors and the true sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh, and man was clothed in flesh. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a carnal was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so, this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let every living thing stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served its purpose well, and it will fall, will be no more. Then he will stand untrammeled on the plane of soul, where he must full complete his victories. Unnumbered foes will stand before man upon the plane of soul. These he must overcome, yea, overcome them every one. Thus hope will ever be his beacon light. There is no failure for the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. When man has conquered every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have full opened out, will have unfolded in the holy breath. The garb of soul will then have served its purpose well, and man will need it nevermore. And it will pass and be no more, and man will attain unto the blessedness of perfectness and at one with Allah. So that was the end of chapter 1. And from there, I'm just going to read chapter 4, which speaks about the death and burial of Elizabeth, Matheno's lessons, the ministry of death. I'm just going to read from chapter 3 to it's chapter 4, but verse 3 to verse 6. And it says, "Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cords that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. No language can describe a mother's worth, and yours was tried and true. But she was not called hence until her tasks were done. The calls of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here. And one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. It is selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. So just using as the basis for what I'm going to speak on, I'll get into some background story about me and my friend. So Khufu, who I used to, we originally used to call him Big Ed. Big Ed. I met him in the late 90s. I'm quite certain I met him in the late 90s. And was introduced to him through his cousin, who was another great friend of mine, Shaq, aka Troy Gregg, who lost his life some years ago. He was murdered. He was killed. And the reason why we were able to connect, because we all came from the same school of teaching. We all came through the Ansar Allah community. He was in New Jersey. He's originally from New Jersey. I, of course, am from New York. And Shaq, his cousin, is from Philly. So to kind of fast forward, he ended up coming down to Louisiana. I was already in Louisiana. I had been there quite some time. I've been in several cities in Louisiana, helping open up bookstores and things of that nature. And Shaq was down there too, with me, before Ed at the time came down, before Khufu came down. So Khufu came down, and we was in Baton Rouge. And we pretty much bonded from there, just clicked. Good brother, just a solid dude. Nothing bad I can say about the man. Always willing to help out, had a big heart. I would always say to myself that he was kind of like a more disciplined version of Shaq, his cousin, who was also my dear friend and brother, because Shaq had a big heart too, always helping people, but he had a wild side. Shaq was known to be wild. Anybody who knows him knows, you know what I'm saying? But good guy. We lived in the same place together, lived in the same house. At one time, we lived in a hotel, just being young people, entrepreneurs, trying to get money. We said it was down south hustling. That was the term we was using, but we was, doing it on a upright manner. We was selling jewelry, mixtapes, or should I say mixed music CDs, even connecting with local artists, putting their music out. At one time, Shaq himself dabbled in the music. I dabbled in the music, going to studios, making music. We also sold the screw tapes, was big at the time. The down south screw tapes out of Texas. So we used to sell that. But, we lived together. We got money together. We ate together. We drank together. You know what I'm saying? Shaq was my drinking partner at the time when I used to drink. Went out together, chased women together. That, like I said before, when we was younger. But we will also build together. We will always talk about knowledge, information. You know what I'm saying? Always studying. always wanting to know more about ourselves, developing ourselves, as we was trying to make out, learn about ourselves. So fast forward, you know, we ended up, you know, parting ways. I think I left Baton Rouge first. Khufu ended up eventually leaving. He went to Georgia. I would see him a couple of times. He ended up having three, being the father of three children, through the mother of his children. They all, you know, they all have the same mother, and I want to give honors and condolences and prayers out to them, um, Nefertari, Adafa, and Sekhmet, and I know it's a definitely a testing time. So, you know, my prayers and my love goes out to them for sure. All of the family. I got to know Meshach's. I mean, sorry, not Shaq, but Khufu's brothers. I met his brothers. I met his mother, his sister. You know what I'm saying? They came down when they was in Louisiana. When he was in Louisiana, they came down and visit. I got to see them. He seen my brother when my brother came down to Louisiana. So, and we always asked about each other's family. You know what I'm saying? Always kept in touch. You know what I'm saying? He's a loyal dude. There's stories I can tell, and there's stories I'll take with me to, I'm no longer breathing on this earth. But he's a good guy. One of the things about him is we will always laugh. You know what I'm saying? He always liked to crack jokes. I crack jokes, but we had this inside joke where he would call me Reverend Hill. You know what I'm saying? And he would always get on the phone and say, Reverend Hillis is the illest. You know what I'm saying? And that was just a thing. He just off the gate he just called me that. Nobody else called me that. He just won. Like, before I came into the Moorish Science Temple of America and became a sheikh and a divine minister, I guess he saw something in me having that type of spirit of a minister and a teacher, that others didn't see. But he will always say it in joke form, you know what I'm saying? But he always proud of me. He you know what I'm saying, he supported what I did, even though I left, the Nuwaubian organization, which is now Sabians, but I left that and joined into the Moorish Science Temple of America. He still supported me. He still saw me as a brother, regardless of what he may have thought of my decision to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. He recognized the fact that I was sincere, and he recognized that I was just trying to give information to help people grow in what I learned, the information I came across that resonated with me. And I always respected and loved him for that. One of the last things he did, because he was a supporter of the show. He was a supporter of Masterminds and Brother Shamel. He was a supporter of my YouTube channel. He would drop comments on the YouTube channel showing support. And one of the last things he did is he asked me for a copy of the book that I would mention a lot on this show. And that book is Bible Mysteries Revealed. I went ahead, made a copy for him, sent it to him. And that wasn't the last conversation we had. The last conversation I had with him, he was actually in the hospital. He had already been diagnosed with COVID. And he was talking about that he was hoping to get out the hospital in a day or two, because he said he felt better. And I think that was pretty much the last time. I think we spoke to him 2 times when he was in the hospital. And and we would communicate a lot via Instagram. So he'd send me stuff, boxing. He was a boxer. He, he trained as a boxer out there up north in New Jersey. He loved boxing. We both had a love for boxing, so we always have stories about boxing. One of the last things we talked about was the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder fight. You know what I mean? And he was actually developing a fight style, for, as he would say, his tribe, the Nawabians at the time. And I don't know if he ever finished the everything that he did as far as formulating that fighting style, but that was one of the things he was working on based on his experience as a boxer and training. And so yeah, he was looking at leaving, going out there. I'm trying to think something else. Coming home, and I didn't think nothing of it because I was like, he's gonna beat this. I've known a couple of people who've had COVID and had it bad, you know what I'm saying, but they beat it, you know what I'm saying. I thought the same thing about my brother. I did not think it was gonna take him, but I got the text from our friend Tahuti Mose, and he texted me, said he passed away. So needless to say, that hit me hard. Definitely hit me hard. And definitely I could just imagine his children. And because he was a single father, single parent. He was raising his 3 children on his own. So I can just imagine what they're going through. But I do want to, just give honor to him, his memory. He's one of the people who I mention in every one of the books that I've written. If you look at my acknowledgments, you'll see Khufu Shishunk. He's one of the first names that I write in my acknowledgments as far as my friends, because he was a true friend, always, never changed. Funny guy. He accepted me as who I was off the gate, and I could be myself around him in just, I didn't have to sugarcoat anything with him. And we were always laughing, always having jokes. He always had a interesting thing is he'd have these several different jokes about me, right? And one of the jokes was I always had a thing for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I get that from my father. Always was a person eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But there was a point in time where I stopped with putting jelly on my sandwiches because I felt like, I called myself wanting to be more healthy. So I put honey instead of jelly. And he found out and started cracking on me, like, you put honey, peanut butter and honey. So to the last days, he would always bring that up, like, so you eating any more peanut butter and honey sandwiches? And funny enough, and I kid you not, I had not eaten peanut butter and honey sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in years. Honestly, I kid you not. He passed on a Sunday. Now, let me backtrack. Because this is true story. This is facts. Prior to him passing away, like maybe the week of leading up, I see a Peter Pan jar, like it's a fresh new one. Like I don't go out and buy peanut butter. So I'm like, I said, I guess my wife bought it. For some reason, there was no jelly, so I'm like, okay, whatever. But I had no desire to eat. It's like, we didn't even have bread for this, so I was like, I don't know why she bought peanut butter. But I kid you not, he passed away on a Sunday. Tuesday morning, I had a strong desire to eat peanut butter and honey. And there was no bread, so I literally was just taking a scoop of peanut butter and putting honey on it. I kid you not. It's just that it's the strangest thing, but I guess that's my brother communicating with me from the other side. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I did. It was just the weirdest thing because I don't eat peanut butter and honey sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly. I don't even do that, man. I left that alone. I left the game. I got out the game, but I got called back one last time. So, I'm just, thinking good thoughts of my brother. And it's from the heart because you rarely have someone who maintains that level of friendship throughout, from beginning to end. You know what I'm saying? Like Shaq, who's his cousin, who's also my dear friend. Of course, we was friends from the first time I met him till he passed away. But and I got the call from Khufu. Khufu was the one who called me because Khufu was the one who was driving him. No, he may not have been the one driving him to the hospital. No, but he's the one who found out he was in Louisiana when he got killed, and he was the one who called me. I got the message from him, and I passed the message to others. So it was like the same thing over again, but you're talking, way over 20 years, you know what I'm saying, of friendship, way over 20 years of friendship. And like I said, he's never changed. We never lost contact with each other, like for a long period of time. I had not seen him in years, physically, but we always, we was going to talk. We didn't let too much time pass. It might be a month or so, but we going to hit that phone and we going to talk. And then we got on IG. We always hit each other. He's always throwing me, videos, funny videos, or boxing videos. I throw him something every now and again. Just a true friend, man. Just solid dude, man. And so that's to be cherished, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to, big him up on that because I think that's important. When you have people in your life who are consistent in how they present themselves to you, that's a trait to be honored. Everybody doesn't have that. You know what I'm saying? Even when we fell out, you know what I'm saying? We've had it wasn't always peaches and cream. Like, we had our rough patches as friendships. Friends will do that, brothers will do that. But we was able to get past that. And because we both knew that we know that our hearts were in the right place. I never tried to do wrong by him. He never tried to do wrong by me. We may have had misunderstandings, but that was it. You know what I'm saying? Loved the brother. And I knew he loved me. You know what I'm saying? He like I said, he stayed loyal to the doctrine of the Sabian doctrine, what they call today, which was the Nuwabian doctrine at the time when I left. But he stayed loyal to it. He stayed loyal to the organization, everything it represented. And I honor that. Though I moved on, he stayed loyal to it. And more so than that, within him staying loyal to it, he wasn't judgmental. He wasn't self-righteous. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen that side in people, but he was never that way. You know what I'm saying? He was able to accept that information as far as light in all different aspects. So with that, in honor of my brother, I want to just give that little background story. And on the next half, I'm going to get into some lessons that we both shared in terms of the reality and the metaphysics of life after death. Now, before I get into this next half, where I actually go into some sciences pertaining to life after death, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this other point about the recent transition of my friend Khufu, and that is that in the process of me looking to cope with his passing, one of the things I did was I was looking to reach out to some people in Baton Rouge who knew him. And I will give a special shout out to Anthony Parker, brother also known as Total Darkness, who's a musical artist out there in Baton Rouge, who I've known for quite some time. Me and Shaq used to go to his studio and record music, but and we recently reconnected. He knew Khufu as well. That being said, I was looking for some people. One was a brother named Fred Lloyd, who we knew. Also, a brother we met who was a part of the Nubian community. And to this day, I wasn't able to get in touch with him. So I was trying to get in contact with another person who me and Ed both knew. And her name is Gina Davis. Someone who also is mentioned in my books, as I dedicate acknowledgments, was a very close friend of mine, very, very close. And we had a lot of history together. And so I know that it had been years that I had not heard from her. And the last time I heard from her, I was, helping her out with certain financial things from afar. She living in Louisiana and I'm living in North Carolina. But I said that to say that in me trying to reach out to her, because I didn't have her number. And I wasn't able to connect with her on social media. I was just doing an online search to see if I come across something. And lo and behold, I came across her obituary. I did not know that she had passed in 2017, September 2017 to be exact. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time me and her actually spoke on the phone was the beginning of 2017. So that blew me away. She passed away at her home at the age of 40 years old. Also leaving behind 3 children, 3 sons. And to this day, I don't know, what was the exact cause of death. But needless to say, that was like the day after I found out about Khufu passing. So not only did I have to deal with my friend Khufu passing away from COVID-19, then I find out that another acquaintance and a friend of ours, a good friend of mine, who I had not heard from in such a long time, had passed away, had been dead, physically dead since 2017, and it's 2021. So that just blew my mind. So I say that to say, it had me really reflecting on this whole thing about life and death, because the strange thing is that I always had it in my head that she was still around, but we was just not communicating, and you never know. You know, there's been other people who come to my attention who have passed away, within the past year or so, past months. And but these two, you know, obviously virtue by the fact that they were, I mentioned them in all of my books and my acknowledgments. They held a special place in my heart, as far as people who I knew and shared a lot with. So that will take me to this part. So one of the books that both Khufu and I was had the opportunity to read was a book written by Malachi Yorkel called "Is There Life After Death?" or "Is There Eternal Life After Death?" And that particular book that I still have, that was one of those books that take you on a journey. Sometime after, I came across a book called The Encyclopedia of Ancient and Forbidden Knowledge by Zolar, which was published in 1970. And so it's quite an old book. It was written right before I was born. And it has a lot of the same information that is in the book, Is There Eternal Life After Death, by Malachi York. So I'm actually going to be reading from that book. But before I do that, I want to get into the interesting thing about my friend's name. Of course, he was born Edward Johnson. We used to always call him initially Big Ed, because he was a big guy, tall, very tall, always stocky. Eventually down the line, he gained more weight, but was always big framed guy, very strong. Like I said, he was a boxer, could fight. You know what I'm saying? I seen him basically knock out Shaq, his cousin, and lay him out. And Shaq was big. Shaq is a big one. Shaq was no joke. But yeah, it was all. It was funny. It wasn't funny, but it was funny because they used to go at it. You know what I'm saying? But Shaq, as wild as he was, he knew he was no match for Khufu. He knew that. You know what I'm saying? But they loved each other. That's just the fact of it, man. As much as they used to get on each other's nerves, they loved each other. They had each other's back. So, in saying that, so I guess I'm going to get into it. So, Khufu Shishunk, Khufu, they're both two names of ancient Kemetic pharaohs. Khufu is known for being the pharaoh behind the Great Pyramid at Giza. Then, of course, there's the other two smaller pyramids of his sons, but which those actual pyramids align up with the three stars in the belt of Orion. So the major one, the Great Pyramid, one of the wonders of the world, that particular one was created under the dynasty of Khufu, which also the Greeks called Cheops, which is Cheops. Khufu is Khufu. And the name Khufu is dedicated to the Kemetic deity Khnum. And Khnum is actually one of the earliest known Kemetic deities which is originally the deity of the source of the now, right? And he was known as the creator deity, thought to be the creator of the bodies of human children, which made at the potter's wheel from clay, and placed in the womb of the mother. So one of the titles is the divine potter and the Lord who created things from himself. And there's actually an episode which I actually speak about Khnum and the potter's wheel and how it relates to the story in the Bible and things of that nature. So you can check that out when you have the time. But I just wanted to drop that. Shishunk is also a pharaoh, the name of a Kemetic pharaoh, who is always presumed to be the ancient Egyptian king in the Bible, Shishak, in the book of First Kings in the Bible, on the Old Testament. So that was a name that, was given to him under, I believe it was the ancient Egyptian order that he was a part of, organization, fraternity that he was a part of. And so he always represented himself ever since he received that name, under that name, and that's what I started calling him. I would always respect that and address him as such. So that being said, let me get into some of the information from this book of Ancient and Forbidden Knowledge, the Encyclopedia of Ancient and Forbidden Knowledge. And this is dealing with a chapter on the astral world. Now, if you remember, I started off by reading chapter 1 of the Circle 7, dealing with the creation and fall of man, where I spoke about the plane of soul. I definitely went into that. So this ties into that in reference to this. So just kind of keep that in mind. So I'll read it in as follows. So it says, on the plane of forces, we find 7 subplanes and likewise the 7 times 7 subdivisions. These are forces far below the scale of the ordinary forces of nature known to man. And likewise, there is a great series of nature's finer forces at the other end of the scale, of which the ordinary man knows nothing. It is these finer forces which account for many of the wonders of occult science. In particular, the fine force called prana, or vital force, plays a most important part in all occult phenomena. Next, above the scale of the plane of forces, we find the great astral plane. The term astral is derived from the Greek word meaning related to a star, and was originally used in describing the heavens of the Greeks and the abodes of their gods. From this sense and usage, the term has widened in its application. So just keep that in mind, and I'm going to kind of jump further into traveling the astral plane. Okay. So let me go here. All right. Here we go. It says, if you have the knowledge and power, you may traverse all of these subplanes, one after the other, witness their scenery and inhabitants, their phenomena and activity, and then return to the material plane. This may be done in a moment of time without changing a single point in space, or, if you prefer, You may travel to any of these subplanes of the astral and then travel in space on the astral plane to some other place. Then you have the choice of returning either the same way or else descending to the material plane and traveling on it in your astral body back to where your physical body is resting. In traveling on the astral plane, one meets with many strange inhabitants of the wonderful realm of nature. Some are pleasant and others are unpleasant. Some of these inhabitants have passed on from the material plane, while others have never dwelt on it. These forms are natives of the astral plane and peculiar to it. When you find yourself outside of your physical form or body and clad in your astral form, your glance at your body and you find it appears no different from your ordinary body. Even your clothing is the same, and this phenomena occurs through perfectly natural laws on the astral plane. You realize you are indeed out of the physical body when you turn your head and perceive your own physical form, sunk in apparent sleep in the chair in which you were seated just a few moments ago. Looking a little closer, you will see that your astral form is connected with its physical counterpart by a tiny, thin, tenuous filament of ethereal substance, resembling a strand of shiny spiderweb. This filament is capable of expansion and contraction, which enables you to move about freely. Now concentrate your will so that your vibrations increase in rate. You will find yourself in a strange atmosphere, although you have not moved an inch. Behind you, you perceive dimly the room in which you were just living. Ahead of you, you perceive strange flashes and streaks of phosphorescent light of many different hues and tints. These are vibrations and waves of force, for you are now passing through the plane of force. You will notice a peculiar, faint, vibratory glow around every physical object. This is the force of atomic and molecular attraction. Still fainter, you will find a peculiar radiance emanating the entire atmosphere. This is the outward sign of the force of gravitation. Now, you feel your life force vibrating at a higher rate and realize the sense of weight seems to be dropping away from you. You feel as though you could move without any effort. You may walk through the wall of the room and out into the street. Now walk down the street. Step out just as if you were in the flesh. Stop a moment. There you let a man walk right through you. Do you realize you are a ghost? Just as much as a ghost as was Hamlet's father, except his physical body was moldering in the ground. A dog will see you, or a cat feels your presence. Animals possess very keen psychic senses. But cease thinking of yourself and look closely at the person passing by. You notice each one is surrounded by an egg-shaped aura extending on all sides to the distance of about 2 or 3 feet. Do you notice the kaleidoscopic play of blending colors in the aura? Notice the difference in the shades and tints of these colors, and also observe the predominance of certain colors. Notice the beautiful spiritual blue around that woman's head, and see the ugly, muddy red around the man passing. An intellectual giant with a beautiful golden yellow around his head, like a nimbus, comes into view. Notice these great colors of semi-luminous substance, which are slowly floating around, and notice how the colors vary. Those colors of thought vibrations representing the composite thought of a multitude. Notice how each body of thought is drawing to itself little fragments of similar thought, forms, and energy. Here is the tendency of thought forces to attract others to their kind. Thoughts come home. Speaking of atmospheres, notice each shop of its own peculiar thought atmosphere. The houses and the street itself have their own atmospheres, created by the composite thought of those inhabiting and frequenting them. From above the level of the housetops, look down and see a great multitude of tiny lights. Each of them represents a human soul. A few brighter lights, and some which shine like a brilliant electric spark, are the auric symbols of advanced souls. Enter the vibrations of the lower subplanes of the astral, but nerve yourself to witness some unpleasant sights. The first impression is that the material world is still around you, with all its scenes visible. As one looks, one will find there seems to be a peculiar veil between those scenes and the plane upon which you are temporarily dwelling. This veil, while semi-transparent, nevertheless seems to have a peculiar appearance of resistant solidity. And one instinctively realizes it would be a barrier to the passage of the astral entities back to the material plane. Gazing around all sides, one sees what appears to be the disintegrating forms of human beings. These forms seem to be floating in space. They seem real, and yet, in some ways, not real. They are not physical bodies, but still, they bear too close a resemblance to the physical corpses to be pleasant. These disintegrating astral forms are what occultists know as astral shells. The astral shell is really an astral corpse, just as the physical body in the grave is a material corpse. The disembodied soul eventually leaves the astral and moves on to what occultists know as the mental and spiritual planes of being. These are symbolized by the conception of, quote unquote, the heavens. When the soul passes on, it leaves behind it the astral body it has inhabited while on the astral plane. I repeat that. When the soul passes on, it leaves behind it the astral body it inhabited while on the astral plane. This astral body or form then begins to disintegrate and in time disappears altogether and is resolved to its original elements. During this resolution process, it dwells on this particular division, which has no other purpose and is separate and apart from the other subdivisions of the astral plane. There's a great difference between the astral shells of different individuals. So far, the duration of the shells in this place of disintegration. For instance, the astral shell of a person of high spirituality and ideals will disintegrate very rapidly. So its atoms have little or no cohesive attraction when once it is discarded. But on the other hand, the astral shell of a person of earthly ideas and material tendencies will hold together for a long time. The attractive force generated while the shell is occupied by its owner is very strong. Those astral bodies are dead and have no consciousness or intelligence, and as a rule cannot even be galvanized into life, as can the class of astral forms known as the spectres or shades. A momentary glimpse of the subdivision of the astral plane upon which the spectral forms abide is never a pleasant one. but it is interesting since it explains some peculiar features of psychic and occult phenomena which are often misinterpreted. Instead of floating about in astral space, as did the shells, these specters act like shadowy human beings in a dazed or dreamlike condition. They walk dreamily about without set object or purpose and are a weird, unpleasant sight. These specters are really astral shells from which the souls have departed, but which have left in them sufficient power from the thought and will vibrations of their former owners to give them a temporary semblance of life and action. In the case of the soul with high ideals and spiritual aspirations, there are practically no material thought vibrations remaining to galvanize that astral body after the soul has withdrawn. But in the case of the soul retaining strong material thoughts and desires, the power is stronger. In these, even after the high nature of the soul has drawn it upward and above the astral, these lower mental vibrations may persist in the deserted astral form, thus give it a semblance of life and activity which, though a counterfeit, may manifest considerable power for a time. The counterfeit power of these spectral forms steadily decreases, but in certain cases it is used up as a spark is rendered bright by blowing upon it. This is by means of a psychic stimulus from persons living on the material plane. This is the power generated in so-called circles and mediumistic persons on the material plane of earth life. The psychic power so generated, coupled by the strong mental attraction set up between certain persons in earth light and spectral form, may cause the form to manifest itself either by more or less complete materialization, or partially through the physical organism of the medium or mediums present in the circle. In such a case, the specter, reanimated and galvanized into life by means of the psychic power of the medium of the psychic circle, will strive to manifest itself by speech, automatic writing, raps, or in various other ways. But at best, its effort will be feeble and faulty, and the persons witnessing the phenomena will always remember the event with the dim idea that, quote, there was something wrong about it, unquote. In some cases, the vibration of old memories will survive in the spectral form and will enable it to answer questions fairly well. But even then, there will be a shadow of unreality which will impress the careful observer. There are many other forms of spirit return, partial and complete, but much which passes for the real phenomena is really but a manifestation of the presence of spectral forms. Moreover, these entities borrow ideas and impressions from the minds of the mediums and persons in the circle, which, in addition to their own shadowy memories, doubly become reflections or counterfeits of spirit. So that keeps in mind with the statement in the Circle 7 where it speaks about truth, power, and force. So in chapter 7, verse 14, where it says, again, Lamass asked, what do you say of power? And Jesus said, it is a manifest, is the result of force. It is but naught, it is illusion, nothing more. Force changes not, but power changes as the ether change. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent. And power is that will and manifest directed by the breath. So dealing with the breath and the life, knowing that man is breath made flesh, and that breath connects with the spirit. So we understand that spirit does not die. It goes, transcends to the soul plane and then on vibrating into the spirit plane. And so we know that there is no death for man. And I say that to say that all life is bound by one cord, and I do this in honor of my friend, Khufu Shishunk, who is just transformed. He has not died. And so I say that in conclusion. I thank you all for listening. Until next time, peace and love.